on, you guys. So Jaron boosts Ennis after his impressive first round knockout performance against Thomas Delorme this past weekend. Boxing fans are already anointing him as the best welterweight in the world. Now, I have some things to say about it because I've been paying attention to what fans been saying in the boxing community. And I mean, if I didn't know any better, I would have already assumed that Jaron Boots Ennis beat this guy, he beat that guy, he done this, he done that. But that's not the case. Jaron Boots Ennis is a fighter that's really dealing with the politics of boxing. However, he may find himself in position to face one of these guys sooner than later. But boxing fans have already seemingly anointed him as the best welterweight in the world for beating guys like Sergey Lipinets, Thomas Delorme. And if I'm honest, those guys are two former 140-pounders. Mikey Garcia beat Lipinets, right, years ago. Terrence Crawford beat Thomas Delorme years ago. Crawford was definitely the first guy to stop him. He was the first guy to stop him. He didn't get this credit for beating Thomas Delorme, the tough Thomas Delorme. It was this narrative for years that Terrence Crawford ain't fought nobody. Ain't fought nobody for years. But Jaron Boots Ennis beats Thomas Delorme, the same Thomas Delorme that even guys like Eudenis Ugas and Alamonte Stanionis beat. But he's being deemed as the best welterweight. Now, Jaron Boots Ennis looks very impressive, extremely impressive. He passes the eye test with flying colors, checks every box. But we have yet to see him in there with somebody bigger, stronger, faster, and longer. Same can be said about Errol Spence Jr., who right now we currently don't know if he's going to come back or if he's going to come back and be the same guy. But whatever the case, this should light up fire under Errol Spence Jr.'s ass. Things are really heating up in the welterweight division. You see, for the past 3 or 4 years, we've been arguing amongst each other as to who's the best welterweight. Could he beat this guy? Could he beat that guy? Who's the best? You know, guys, certain guys not fighting each other, right? Meanwhile, the young crop of fighters, the Boots Ennises, the Virgil Ortizes, the Stanionis, the Batuev, I'm sorry if I butchered his name. You know, the young guys that's on the rise. They coming, and they already here. You got guys like Ugas scrambling because he got to fight Stanionis. You know, Boots Ennis is number 3 in the IBF. He calls out Errol Spence.
Narrow it down in your mind who you'd like? I'm ranked number 3 in the IBF, so Errol Spence.
Of course, he mentioned Crawford's name last when he was going through the names. But for years, they said Bud Crawford ain't fought nobody, that he ain't done nothing. I mean, this is a guy that moved up in weight, fought bigger guys that fight at higher weight classes, guys like Jeff Horn, guys like Jose Benavidez, who's currently fighting at junior middleweight, who fought at junior middleweight in the past. Kell Brook, who fought middleweight, right? Amir Khan, who fought middleweight. Guys who actually fought at higher weight classes. Crawford got in the ring with these dudes and ran them up out of there. But guess what fans did? Oh, well, you know, they was never that good. Oh, well, they was a shot fighter. Oh, well, he had one leg. These are some of the things that Terrence Crawford had dealt with during his run. But Jaron Boots Ennis, I mean, don't get it twisted. The kid I think he's one of the best guys. I mean, come on. Phenomenal. The way he's handling these guys, 11 first round knockouts, etc., etc., etc. He's doing phenomenal things. But for fans to, and it seemed like a lot of guys are Spence fans. It seemed like guys are that they're on the fence about how Spence, you know, guys that's on the fence if Spence is gonna come back, or if come back the same guy. They already hopping on the Jaron Boots Ennis bandwagon. They already hopping on the Boots. You got this plethora of Boots fans that came out of nowhere, and now you see this little battle that's starting to begin between the Terrence Crawford fans and the newfound Boots Brigade. You know, these guys were former Spence fans who hopped off his wagon because they wasn't loyal to their guy. So now they hopping off, and now they, this is what's happening right now. And it's probably going to get bigger as time goes. Crawford beats Porter, that's what people are going to be talking about. Crawford versus Boots. They're not going to be talking about Crawford versus Spence. It's either a protection tactic to keep to push Boots off, even though Boots mentioned Spence, as a guy that he'll likely be able to have to deal with next. They'd rather see Bud do it. The little guy, who they said ain't done nothing, who they said they ain't fought nobody, right? Should be interesting to see how this thing plays out. You never know what happens in boxing, people. Shit can change. Within 3 months, something totally different from what we foreseen to come happens. Something totally different. Is Boots the best welterweight? He got to prove it. The difference here is guys like Crawford and Spence. Well, there was a narrative for a while that Crawford ain't fought nobody, right? But for Crawford, he beat a lot of undefeated fighters that never been beat before. Guys that were ranked, guys that were champions, guys that were Olympians, medalists, shit like that, right? Ennis hasn't faced those type of opponents. He hasn't. And I understand that he's dealing with some political things behind the scenes as well. Errol Spence, he put in the work at welterweight, unified the division, turned himself into a draw. He put in the work, but it's different. Crawford necessarily didn't have problems until he got to 147, until PBC decided that they didn't want to deal with Terrence Crawford. They knew that he was at the end of the road with Top Rank once he got to 147, and then that's when the politics really kicked in for Terrence Crawford. Other than that, he was moving fine. He became undisputed. He was collecting belts, and then out of nowhere, he got to 147, and then he ain't done nothing. He ain't fought nobody, so it's different. Ennis is on the right side. Now, whether he's with Al Heyman or not, that's different. So his path is a little bit different. He got more fights than Spence, or about the same amount of fights. He had to take a different path. And now he's almost there right on Spence's heels. Will Spence fight Boots if they mandate that fight? But for fans to deem Boots as the best welterweight and he could beat this guy and that guy, he got to prove it first. Just like Terrence Crawford had to prove it. They didn't want to give Terrence Crawford that notion, even though he was a proven fighter. Even though he was highly regarded. Even though he was already pound for pound. Even though he put in the work. They still didn't want to give him that. But now they saying Boots is the best welterweight from beating Thomas Delorme. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.